So yeah, let's get straight into this. So yeah, welcome people to the channel who are watching here. Hope everyone's all well. So Aaron's here today, just who knows so much about Mark 7s, the 7 Rs. Member, you're sort of like the admin of Facebook kind of forum as well for the 7s and 7.5s. I know a lot about you and your technical abilities and what you know about the cars. So yeah, probably a lot more than me. So yeah, I guess just go through a little bit of yourself, a bit around the 7Rs. You know, you've got one yourself. What's kind of drawn you to them, really? I guess what's so good about them?
I got it. It seems weird for a car fanatic to say, but I used to have a 3.2 V6 Audi, and I do quite a lot of miles. I commute. I do like 15,000 miles a year, normally, not at the moment. And I worked out the amount of miles I'm doing, the amount of miles per gallon I'm doing. And I did a big geeky spreadsheet and realised that Golf Rs are going to, if I tune it up, it's going to give me more performance, more power, and because it's new, it shouldn't go wrong as much. Obviously the new Mark 8 might not be quite the same, but there shouldn't be any issues with it. And I did a big spreadsheet and it worked out it would have been cheaper, easier to run to get a virtually new car. So I did, and then I've loved it. And to be fair, it's an all-rounder. I've got it's stupidly fast once it's tuned, but I've got 2 kids, a dog, and it's good for doing high miles. It's comfy. It seems to do everything, tick all the boxes for me.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, yeah, you're pretty much given the reasons why I kind of love them as well. You know, back when we used to commute quite a lot, probably last year. Yeah, I kind of did 10,000 miles a year in mine, and it's just the perfect all rounder. You know, I couldn't think of anything sort of better to use. But yeah, all the good stuff is great about it. I guess a lot of what people kind of look into, like forums and look into different things, are some of the problems that you get, which you're going to get with every car. For you, I've checked through some of like you pinned some sort of like main sort of issues that you can kind of get with these cars. What for you is like the one to watch out for that could cost you quite a bit of money, yeah, from your sort of point of view?
There's only 2 major faults I would say with the cars. If you've got a manual, which I haven't, the clutch, the clutches are an awful. They'll go. You need to upgrade the clutch, basically. Not a big issue, not a big expense, but you buy when you factor in whatever it is for a new clutch. The other one's a thermostat housing, which when they go, you're looking at, if VW do it, about £1,000. If you get an independent, about 600 quid. Pain in the arse apparently to do DIY, but it seems completely random that they've done. I think they're on revision N or something at the moment, but you find that I know people that have gone through 3 and they've only done like 30,000 miles. I've done 67,000 miles on mine now, most of which have been tuned, and mine is still fine. It seems, I don't know what it is, they seem to be pot luck as to whether they go or not. But apart from that, all the other issues you get, like batteries, easy to replace. The gear selector, it used to be a really bad thing on the DSG, it's a micro switch, but now there's a £80 fix from VW that you can do yourself. So all the other issues are pretty negligible, to be fair.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I run a manual as well. I've sort of 32,000 miles in mine. Yeah, you kind of feel that the clutch is nothing special, is it? It's not like anything like a performance enhanced one. I guess you could upgrade it if you wanted to, if you're going to do sort of track work and stuff like that. But yeah, mine's still just about going strong. And on the thermostat housing stuff, yeah, it does seem to be massively like just checking on it. It does seem like some people just get bad luck after bad luck, and you're forking out best part of sometimes £1,000 to replace it. It does kind of put people off, which I'm not too sure. Yeah, not too sure why VW don't get on top of things like that, but that's I guess
they've tried. To be fair, they've done. It's not one revision per letter, but they are on revision N now.
Okay.
And each one seems to be just as bad as the last one. I'd like to find out why. Whether it's a manufacturing fault, whether it's something to do with driving. Like the other issue you get with Golf, for example, with the Haldex, quite often clogs up. And normally it's an easy fix. Normally it's a service, clean the gauze, give it a reset, and off it goes. But that, for example, it seems to me that the more you use your Haldex, the more the oil gets churned around inside it, and the less likely it is to gunk up. So when I bought my car, it done 13,500. Okay. I took it to 20 and it was all gunked up. I then drove, it was awful. So I cleaned it all myself, fixed it, did another 20,000 miles, got it checked again. It's fine, because I've adjusted mine to get more power to the rear, so that the Haldix kicks in that bit earlier. I drive it hard around corners, so I think it's the more you use it on that one, the better. But with the thermostat housing, I don't know what the magic formula is, or whether it's just potluck.
Yeah, no, that is interesting. And again, cool to see someone nearly like 70,000 miles in the car. I think there's a common misconception that if you get a car with sort of low miles, you're kind of getting a steal, you're getting a great car. But for me, I'm more, the cars are there to be driven. You know, you've got to put the miles on it, you've got to get like the oil flowing, you've got to get just the parts being used, because it can be worse for things if they're just sitting there. For the Haldex as well, it's probably just going to cause problems in the long run, particularly if you're just sitting on your drive and not really using it. Probably actually just getting out, having some fun in your car is sometimes probably the best way to kind of avoid any issues kind of happening.
Exactly, it's like the old DPF in a diesel. You know, if you get your mum to drive it nice and slowly, you end up clogging it up. Sometimes it needs a bit of love, and you've got to drive it properly to make it work. Don't rag it and then everywhere all the time, wait for it to warm up. But I think sometimes a bit of respect for your car and drive it like it should be driven actually helps.
Yeah, exactly. And I've you sent me a few pictures of your car as well. It looks pretty cracking. I'll put them on screen as well as we're talking. But I noticed as well there's always sometimes a debate between, say, like the Pretorias and the Cadiz wheels. I've got Cadiz and you've got Cadiz as well, so like the 18s. You can get sort of like the Pretorias buckling quite easily. Obviously that's can be quite a bit of an expense, and in the UK it's just horrendous sort of on the roads. What's your kind of preference? Have you kind of noticed any difference between the 18s and the 19s? What would you go for?
I stuck with the 18s, Cadiz, because they are stronger. Basically, I'm getting old, 42 now, and I'm fed up with having cars with wheels buckle and all of that. So with the miles I do, I go through a lot of tyres. So I've got cheaper tyres, I've got a better ride. And I prefer the look of them as well, and they got less chance of buckling. So I went for the 18s for that reason. If I was to get 19s, I wouldn't get the Prets. I would go for the I'll go for the aftermarket. If I was to get them, I'll go for the aftermarket ones, which are stronger, or I'll go for different wheels. But for me, it was the robust, cheap, cheerful, won't go wrong kind of aspect I liked.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I'm kind of the same around that. I think save a bit of cost, get a better ride. Don't really notice too much in terms of handling kind of issues, and they look great. But the one thing that I had with mine, I don't know if you've like ever curbed yours at all because of their diamond cut. Do you find it okay to kind of repair the wheel as opposed to like a Pretoria? Or
you can't, if it's on the right on the edge, so right by the tire, and you do it. I have repaired a couple. You sand it down with 200 grit sandpaper, and then 400, 800, 1200, and then you can lacquer it, and you can make it look. You'll know if you've just polished your car and you look at the right angle, you'll see that it's been done. But in real life, you'd never know. But if you get it in the middle of the spoke, so you get white worm or something, you're screwed. You're not going to polish that out. You can try and polish it out because the finish isn't going to be. It's not going to look the same. It will stand out like a sore thumb. So you can't with them. And as soon as you start getting them diamond cut, you're kind of like, well, what's the point of spending 100 quid when they only cost 100 quid for a new wheel? You might as well go and get a new or get a used one.
Yeah, no, completely. And I think that is the issue. You've got to then make them all match. It's just it kind of ruins things. So I guess look after it. And I guess being 18s, you're not as likely to curb them anyway over the 19s. Going on, because I've got a few things to mention. So the modification side of things. So now my Golf I is completely stock. I've never done anything to it. I think that's just because maybe I'm a bit boring. But for the commute and stuff like that, I was like, I don't want anything to go wrong. For you, for someone who's kind of like starting out and just wants to put something on, what would be kind of like a good recommendation? Bit of a budget, not going to cause too many problems for like the A888 engine. What would you kind of go down?
If you want a cheap and cheerful mod to get your car quicker, I would say change the air filter. You do what's kind of known as a Pikey 600 mod, which is effectively drill a bit out of your intake so it gets more air in, put a blanking plate to target the air, take the snow grate out, change the air filter, and then change the pipe between the air filter and then you got the elbow into the turbo. That, buy it on eBay, you're probably looking at a Ram Air 1 or something, cost you 140 quid tops. It is not a lot of money. Then I would just put a JB4 tuning box on it. To me, they've got some default maps on there. That will, and everyone says it transforms the car. It actually does transform the car. You are going to get more from a proper stage 1 tune. but you can't take a stage 1 tune off. It's a bit more of a commitment for people. It's not warranty friendly. So yeah, I've done more than that. A lot of other people do more. But if you want a cheap and cheerful way, buy a JB4, control it with your phone. You've got all the gizmos, and it does make a noticeable difference to the power.
Yeah, no, definitely, and obviously, yeah, heard of the JB4s as well. So yeah, they're, again, if you're looking to do something simple, exactly what you said, it's probably the right way to go. So that's interesting. I'm gonna have to, I'll probably get tempted into doing something eventually. I'm sort of holding out on the stock side, and then it's just gonna be like, if I'm gonna keep it for the long term, just
the good thing is, if you buy the 400 quid for a used one with Bluetooth, if you buy it second hand, if you don't like it, it takes an hour to fit, sell it. Yeah, you've not lost any money. You can literally put it on, and your insurance shouldn't go up a lot anyway. You just say like engine chip or tuning box. Your insurance should generally be negligible as well. So it's an easy one. You can fit it yourself, and just to see whether you like it, and then you'll probably get the tuning bug and want to do a lot more.
Yeah, they're just never stopping it. Yeah, it keeps going from there. Are there any kind of like risks you'd say, like is there any parts of the car, the Golf R, that is weak to tuning? That makes sense. So as you up the power, are there stuff that it can't just take it, because the engines are pretty good, aren't they? Stock 300 horsepower, but you see people go stage 1, stage 2, and run them without it really any issue.
I'd say as a rule of thumb, apart from the clutch on a manual, you'll need it. If you tune it, you need a clutch. But if you go to get a JB4 or stage 1 tune, as long as the tune is for someone reputable and it's a decent one, you'd be very unlucky to have anything go wrong with your car at all. It's not saying it's completely safe. Any tuning adds some risk, but stage 1, risk free pretty much. Stage 2 probably put shot at about 400 horsepower. You start getting a few teething issues. It's harder. Even some of the good tuners get a few bits wrong. Your gear shifts, your TCU map might go a bit bad. But generally you get niggles rather than catastrophic issues. I've been lucky with mine. I had no issues whatsoever. And I've done a good 40,000 miles of it, stage 2, and it's been fine. Absolutely not one problem with it at all. You only start getting issues when you start pushing it above 450, that kind of mark. A lot of people get really lucky. A lot of people they spin shells and they get snapped com rods and they get the fuel pumps start to go, and then that makes your engine overheat. You get loads and loads of issues as the higher up you go. But then the people that start getting their cars above 500 horsepower don't generally do it as a daily driver. They're putting money into it. They know the risks, and they're fine. I've driven one. A friend of mine had a 530 something horsepower one, and it's insane. So I'm not saying if you're going to go really high, I'm not saying don't do it by any means, but get to stage 1 safe, stage 2 possibly niggles, getting higher than that. Be prepared to have some risks and potentially put a new engine in it, but have a fast car.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I always feel that, particularly with these ones, VW leave quite a lot of tolerance. They leave a lot on the table that you can basically exploit while still keeping the reliability. So it is worth just sort of like giving it a go and sort of trying it out. And yeah, I know the performance is, I mean, they're fast stock. I like it stock, but you can get it to something ridiculous, sort of like sub 4 seconds, relatively easy. And then still just do it, and it's absolutely fine. And I think jack of kind of all trades on that sort of side of things.
Even a JB4 stage 1 will put you 0 to 60. You could be under 4 seconds. It's going to be around that, normally about the high threes. A stage 1 to tune a decent one could be down to 3.5 on a good day. And you start getting stage 2 cars, then they'll do it mostly around 3.5. Some goes to the low threes, but you can get silly for not much money. You can get silly fast cars.
So would you say for sort of like stage 1 or sort of like a small sort of tune, would you say for a manual probably upgrade the clutch, but for a DSG it's probably okay, you'll probably be all right?
Stage 1, you'd generally be fine. And if the clutch packs did go, they're not expensive to fix. It's not. They used to be. Everyone was worried about they're going to cost you $3,000. It's not. If they did go, it's not a hard job to fit them anyway. But I mean, mine's had a TCU map, so mine squeezes the clutch plates a little bit harder and stuff like that. But it's still on the same stock clutches, and I'm not worried about it going at all. And if it did go, it would go. It's not like the end of the world. If it did go, it's not like it's going to blow the engine up. So
no, exactly. And I suppose the next sort of point that I I just feel people neglect so much, and you've done a great sort of post on this one around fuel octanes and what you should kind of fuel your car with, because I just feel a lot of people think put the power in, don't really care, stick like the cheapest fuel in, and that'll do it. But it's everything to a car. And I saw your sort of test against like Tesco 99 Momentum. You've got the Shell V Power as well. What's kind of your advice, I guess, on sort of like fuel octanes and like your sort of opinion?
Yeah. If the car's designed to run standard on 98, if you're going to the shops and you give it to your mum and you've got that kind of driving, to be fair, it'll make no difference at all. If you're driving it hard, effectively you have to know what the lower octane does. So the octane in your fuel stops it. Basically, as your piston gets squashed at the top, everything gets hot at the top. You want that to combust. You want that to spark when the spark plug goes. What you don't want is to be too hot. It's going up, and on the way up, it sparks, because then as the piston's going up, it's sparking, and that's what gives you engine knock, basically. And the lower the octane, the more chance it's got of pre-combusting. So your engine is clever, and it will detect that this has happened, and then it will adjust the power, the timing accordingly, basically, to stop that. But it has still happened. And my logs that I've shown, because I've got methanol on my car, I can turn on, and I've got the JFO, I can turn it on and off, and I can see logs about what the engine's doing. And I normally find that I've done a run on 95 and a run on 99, and you can literally see 4 degrees of timing difference between the two runs. So it is 100% there on my tuned car anyway. So for me, actually I've got 95 in it at the moment, which sounds really bad because I was away and I couldn't find any other petrol station anywhere close. But normally I've got the meth as well, which helps, but I would only put 99 in. And from my logs as well, I would say that V-Power performs generally better than Tesco Momentum from what I found. It holds the timing a lot better. Tesco's work sometimes, but then the next time you try it, you'll find it's slightly lower. And the SO Supreme seems pretty good as well. But to be fair, any of the 99s will do. If you're on a track day or tuning it up, a dyno day, stick with Shelley, and I would. But other than that, any of them will be okay.
Cool. And would you say it's worth it? Because I know for me, I put Tesco Momentum in mine. Would you say it's worth the extra cost of going for something like V-Power for the performance gain if you do take it on track, or if you're just going for a blast or something?
Yeah, I don't think you'll notice much of a difference as a driver. On the road, I'll put an either. If I was doing a track day, I want 99, basically. I want Momentum, V-Power, basically. A track day, V-Power. Anything else, I'll put any 99 in, it'll be fine.
Definitely. And I guess as well, obviously, it's not so easy. You might have to be forced to put 95 in it. Once in a while, it's not going to hurt the car, is it? It's just one of those things. You don't really have a choice.
You can have McDonald's, and you're not going to get a heart attack, and you're not going to be unfit. Eat McDonald's every day. It's not as good for you as it is eating properly. So similar to that, really. I wouldn't worry. Yeah, you're not going to worry about doing that occasionally, but I wouldn't want to be doing it and ragging the hell out of it. You'll also find that in the summer, it's more critical than it is in the winter because the engine temps are higher and everything else. In the winter, it should keep itself in order a little bit more.
Yeah, no, definitely. No, that's a great way of putting it, actually. Next thing I wanted to mention about your brakes. Again, for me, it's something that a lot of people that I see, particularly like in the YouTube world, it's all about the power, don't really care about anything else. But I'm probably more of like, I'll do my track days, but not in the Golf R, in other cars. Brakes for me are just absolutely everything. So you did, I was reading it this morning, just around the EBC, sort of a relatively cheap upgrade from sort of like the stock discs and pads, say, for example, that I've got in mine. Would you say if you're replacing your discs and pads, would you go to stock, or would you say, try performance part, even if you're sort of not even tracking it?
The stock ones aren't up to the job, in my opinion, on the car. You could, I'm not saying I do, but if you were driving more than motorway speed and you're going 120 or something and you wanted to stop, you'll find that your brakes would fade as you get to the end. If you did repeated go fast, stop cycles, you'll find they start to fade. They start with a woo 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 as you stop. They're just not up to the job. I replaced it the first time with a typical Pagid Brembo or something that was normal brakes from Euro Car Parts, and exactly the same. I went to the EBC front discs and groove pitted discs, and I've got some yellow stuff pads, and you don't get any of that fade that you had before. I will say you've got to go EBC. To be fair, most of the groove pitted discs out there are going to be very similar. And again, with the pads, a lot of people like the Frodos. Some people like blue stuff, not yellow stuff. There are lots of different ones on there, but any of them are going to be better than the stock brakes. Night and day. You can't. You go from brakes that, I'm not saying I've got the best brakes in the world now. It's not like having a big brake kit, but you've got the brakes like the car should have come with in the first place. It's not dangerous anymore if you're driving hard. The rears, I'm not as sold on that. I don't think the rears are a big issue. I would probably put stock back on the rears. It's nice to have them all looking the same. You get your black inside, your disc looks black. It'd be really nice. Maybe I'd upgrade them. Maybe I wouldn't. But I'm not going to lose any sleep unless I was tracking it or something.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think going on sort of the big brake kit side of things, I've always looked them up and I'm like, it's way to go for. But you can spend thousands, and it just becomes almost an unaffordable mod in some ways. You're just throwing it away. Whereas if you don't have to go for the absolute 100% the best brakes ever, you can just be clever and sort of look around, and go from there. So no, I think that was a good point.
Yeah, my brake upgrade for the front was like 300 quid. It's not a lot of money. Fit yourself. Whilst I needed brakes anyway, so it would cost me 150, 200 quid anyway. Even no what I had. So it was it's very cheap. With the big brake kits, I don't know a lot about them. But being an admin, I hear quite a lot. It is worth noting that some of the big brake kits aren't allowed to, they say not for track use, and they don't offer much more benefit than what just these discs would do. Some of the big ones are absolutely fantastic, and they're going to stop you like you cannot imagine. But don't think that just because you're paying £1,000 or 1,500 quid on a bottom of the range brake kit, it is what they say it is. Some of them aren't going to perform as well as the manufacturers claim.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think as well, if you're, like you say, if you're track down and you want that sort of repeatable fun, and your brakes and discs and pads get worn out, you're going to have to replace that with the same sort of money and stuff like that. Whereas if you think the way you're thinking about it, £300 for the fronts, it's not breaking the bank. So yeah, that's the best advice, I think. Going on, so again, a little bit around sort of like the forum and stuff like that. I see a lot of like cars getting sold, and obviously these Golf Rs can be involved in accidents. They can have some problems. Unfortunately, it's just the nature of it all. Yeah, and that was the thing. Things not actually being declared on these cars in terms of like if it was sort of like a minor accident and sort of dealerships selling them. I know the great thing about the Facebook forum that you sort of admin, you kind of make people aware of this, that people would walk in and sort of spend £25,000 for a car which has been in a shunt and it looked like this before. What would you say would be the best thing if someone's looking for a Golf R to look out for, just in general if they're buying one?
It depends how much you know about cars. I know quite a bit, so I personally prefer to buy off someone private. So I will see it's got one owner from you, that car. I know that one owner, depending on what I think of that person, it seems silly, they're smart. I got mine from an older guy in a nice house. His garage with a thing over it. You know that guy hasn't been ragging it around the corner. You can sort of tell. I've had bad experiences with garages in the past that they're trying to sell the car to make money. That is not saying that all of them are bad by any means. There are some fantastic garages out there. But if you're going to go and get it from a dealer, do some reviews on what that dealer is like. Some dealers are known for bad customer service when it goes wrong. They are known for selling ringers and really bad cars. Other ones are known for being really good. So ask on a forum, ask on a group, what do you think? Look at Google reviews. That'd be the biggest. If you're going to buy from a garage, that'd be my biggest advice. If you're going to buy private, my dad always used to say, don't fall in love with a car until you own it. So never go and look at a car and want it. Look at a car with a pessimistic hat on thinking, I don't want this car. And don't let somebody talk you into it. Think about it. You think it's the best deal ever and another one's not going to come along. Wait a week, there'll be another one coming along. So just don't jump into it and buy it and give someone your money. If you're unsure in any way, walk away.
No, definitely. That's great advice. I think for me, the reason why I love them so much is it's a community type car. It's an enthusiast car, and there are enthusiasts out there that really do look after them and do take care of them and keep them well. Arguably better than just your Volvo Golf, which someone could just sort of like drag around and stuff like that. If you're sort of like, so if you're looking privately, which again, for some weird reason, I never understand why people sort of can shun a private sale. I'm with you. You know, guys, speak to them, get involved, see what they're like, and see what they think about the car. If you go to a main dealer, I mean, I got mine from a VW dealer. They don't know that much about the car. They just want to sell you it. They're never going to get into any sort of conversation of how it's being driven, how it's being worked. And if I was actually going down the route, particularly, there's some R's that have been around for quite a few years now, I'd definitely 100% go privately. I'd look at who they are. Your forum's kind of great for that as well, with kind of the advice on it. You know what people are like. So yeah, I think for anyone who's kind of like scared or whatever of a private sale, I think it could be the right way to go. So yeah, I'm
there's lots of telltale signs to look at as well. So if you're going to buy a performance car, look at the tires. Always see the make. Are they the same make all the way around? Are they a decent make? If they put cheap tires on them, got cheap brakes, have they got, when you're looking, it's not just is it clean, but all of the little bits inside the car. Oh, there's a little tear in the seat there. Oh, there's a little bit of that. You can tell by the components and what people have done. Look by the servicing. Have they changed? So mine hasn't got full dealer service history anymore because I do it all myself. But if you look at my logbook that I've kept on my receipts, you'll see that I change my spark plugs every 10,000 miles. They're always to a racing plug. You can see all the bits that I do to look after it. I use better oil. So little clues like that. Are they putting in a cheap oil, a recommended oil, or a better oil? Are they getting it, if they're getting it serviced by a garage, is it a normal garage, a main dealer, or a specialist? Normally, to me, someone who goes to a specialist is a person who would generally care most about their car. So if there's any common issues, like I bought an M3 a while ago, they had issues with the subframe snapping, and there was a mod you could do, and I could see that it had full service history in a specialist, and he had the modification done to stop the subframe coming apart. So you can just look by looking at a few telltale signs, you can tell whether they're good or not, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have any sort of like recommended sort of like specialist dealers? I see some on your forum as well that you'd kind of recommend people try out. From your opinion.
As I go to the forum, I've got to be very careful. I don't want to be seen as favouring any particular person. But I go to the forum and ask around. It'd be obvious on any forum which are the main people, that garages that people like and people don't like.
Yeah, no, definitely. And for your R, do you see yourself keeping it for? Would you be happy to kind of keep it sort of over sort of like 100,000 miles, still run it at sort of like the modifications you've got on it, or do you see yourself moving away eventually?
I'm not sure. I mean, I love it. I'd like something newer. Mine's paid. I've got it. I could go somewhere else, but it does tick all the boxes at the moment. I've always said I'm never going to have a high power car over like 80,000-90,000 miles, generally tuned or not. So that's a thought, but it's a case of what would I go to next at the moment, because the Golf ticks all my boxes, and everything I do, I feel like I'm stepping sideways, not forward. I wouldn't get the Mark 8 at the moment.
Yep.
There's too many teething issues with it going on. I'm not saying I won't do, but there seems so many things wrong with them at the moment. I just don't want to risk that. The new S3 looks nice. I quite like the look of that. So maybe that could be an option. But I'm undecided. I think this time next year I'll be putting up for sale, but we'll. Okay. I think watch your space.
Yeah, definitely, and it's interesting with the S3, because I guess, I mean, I've never seen as much of kind of like a community kind of feel around the Audi S3, even though fundamentally you've got the same MQB platform, it's the same EA888 engine in general. But now, particularly like the newer ones, I know, like you say, there is teething issues. There's arguably cost-cutting savings and stuff in this economy. But would you kind of be more towards an S3 than an R, as opposed to, obviously you chose your Mark 7 R over the previous generation S3? What would you kind of be thinking about now?
To be honest, I like the look of the S3 better, especially the front end. It looks really good. I think the Golf, and it's cheaper for some reason. I don't know why they've pitched it that way. The Mark 8, yeah, I don't know. They're the same car basically. The Mark 8's got some nice features, maybe the drift mode, but it seems if you've got the one with all those extra features, it'd be such an expensive car to buy because they're all add-ons to the price anyway. The other option, of course, is because of COVID. I've always wanted to get a smaller engine, tuned up car.
Yeah.
Because of my miles, because like I said at the beginning. And if I don't know what's going to happen post-COVID, because my miles have dropped a lot this year, if I'm going to be doing less miles, should I just say, screw it, I'm going to get a bigger engine car that I'm not worried about my MPG a bit more. Not worried about running costs, but I want to have my M car before. You want brake discs and brake pads. everything comes with the tax, and it's just it's not just the buying a car. Everything costs like double what it should do. So that kind of puts me off the big names of it, really.
Yeah, and that's where I feel that this car kind of hits its sweet spot, because you can go for like BMW M and you can just get absolutely destroyed on, I know people who bought them, and then you sort of got like a 1,200-mile running in service and they're paying like £600 to their dealer just to do like some coding and just to do like an oil change. It's just not fair for someone who's just passionate and interested in cars to be kind of paying that sort of money. You just don't have to. Whereas with the R, we've spoken about relatively affordable parts, tires and stuff like that. They're not too bad. You look at our 18-inch wheels, they're not expensive tires. You don't have to go top premium. You can get some decent stuff on there. So the sort of the affordable all-round package is kind of what does it for me. I think we kind of reached the end. I probably, to be honest, Aaron, I could probably talk to you for a while about these cars. This is just it's my kind of passion. I love it as like a hobby. And I've always been just a fan of the whole community, getting people involved. One thing I did kind of want to end on, I know on your forum, you mentioned about some sort of like meets and stuff like that. And I think there was one sort of last year, I think it was in the New Forest. Is there anything sort of planned that you're aware of at all?
Yeah, there's actually one of the other mods, Michael, that's planning the New Forest one again.
Okay.
As soon as lockdown's over, I'm pretty sure everyone's going to be gagging for a car meet. So that last one, I think watch this space. I'm pretty sure there's going to be ones down south that we'll be doing, and there's going to be a few club-based ones, I'd imagine. I think sun's out, everyone's going to want to clean their cars and go and actually meet people and have a pint, I think. So I think watch this space, but they're going to happen.
Awesome. No, looking forward to it. Awesome. Well, listen, Aaron, thanks so much for your time. I'll leave sort of like links in the description and stuff like that. Check out the Facebook page. It's the best place to go if you're interested in a Golf R. If you've got one, or even if you haven't, you're interested. You know a lot of stuff as well, Aaron. I'll keep an eye on what the sort of stuff that you're posting as well. But thanks so much for taking the time out and just having this chat.
Thanks for having me, Sam.
Awesome. No worries, Aaron. I'll speak to you later.
Thank you.
Cheers. See you later.